All right, hopefully this one works a little bit better than our last one because it's just a little buggy on the last item. Back in. All right, let's see if we can send some people some notifications to jump back on our current trends in tech. And I am talking to myself right now, which is totally cool. I'm excited for our creators to jump back on this conversation. And we're gonna be talking more. And it looks like our stream is doing a little bit better here in terms of less bugginess than the last round. So yeah, you're here. Welcome back.
Hey, Olivia.
Looks like we're doing a little bit better here with the bugs, at least from my side. It looks like we're doing okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Fantastic. So today, while we're waiting for other creators to jump on here, we're talking about current trends in tech. So we were touching on a couple items that were involving that GPT and AI, and how that's kind of changing the industry right now. And I think we have all the bugs cleared out. Dweez and Dom, are you feeling okay on your end there?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's
Awesome.
better. I had an infinite loading spinner. It was a bit annoying, but yeah, now it's gone, so hopefully it is fine.
Okay, fantastic. That's exciting. So let's just jump right back into where we left off. So for those just joining, we're talking about our current trends in tech at the moment. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the chat. We're welcome. We're trying to teach everybody different aspects of how we're learning tech and what's up and coming. So feel free to drop any questions you may have around tech in general or about ChatGPT or AI. So back into our other questions, we might have to repeat a couple because we were having some issues before, but now we're good. I hope everybody's doing well. So let's jump into our chat. Let's go back to Chat GPT for a second because I know not everybody was in here when we were chatting about that. So I'm going to re-ask this question for those that have come on, and it's okay if you want to just repeat your answer that you had. But what do you think of Chat GPT, and how is it going to influence those getting into tech in the future? So let's go back to Ziad for this one to start.
Yeah, I think ChatGPT is pretty cool because as I kind of mentioned, I used a lot of the like underlying technology behind ChatGPT like last year, I want to say, like last January, and back then there was like way more limitations on it. The underlying tech, if anyone's familiar, is called GPT-3. I think Dom kind of mentioned it, and like they had a programmable way to like access it a while back, and it was cool, but it wasn't as cool as it is right now because there's so many limits, like the types of questions that you can ask, and like the input length, and like how long you can have a conversation with it. But it's been really cool to use it now because a lot of the technology has like clearly gotten much better. They fine tuned a lot of like the issues that were there a year ago, and I think it has definitely grown like exponentially. So I'm very excited to see like in the next year what will happen because clearly the company behind it, OpenAI, is like doing a good job at like taking feedback from real users and figuring out like how can we make this a little bit better? How can we fine tune this? Because like right now you can pass it in like pieces of code and ask it, hey, what does this code mean? And it'll give you a very good explanation of what's happening, and you couldn't do that like a year ago. It was definitely not that powerful. You couldn't like have it like evaluate things like that. So I'm very excited to see where it goes in the next year, next couple of years, because I think that's really when we're gonna see ChatGPT become this thing that we can actually use like in our day-to-day lives versus right now where it's like really cool to play around with, but for the most part it's still like you can use it for specific use cases, but not for everything in your life, you know? So I'm just overall very excited.
Definitely, same. I feel like it's really good to be an early adopter when it comes to Chat GPT and like the AI technologies that are coming out because it's going to take over just like Google did or the internet in general. Dweez, what do you think of Chat GPT and how do you think it's going to influence those that are starting to get into tech or even in life in general?
Yeah, as I said earlier, I think it will definitely become, I think Zia said earlier, for those who missed it, that it's going to be the stepping stone moving forward in the AI realm. And I agree. I think it will, I mean, they're in stage three, as Dom mentioned. We are further developing in the fourth version of it. So it will definitely keep on improving and becoming more accurate. Now, I think given that it will improve and become more accurate, it may reach a point where we will be having the discussion as if, in the sense of, I'm struggling to find the word. Um, yeah, I think it will definitely spark a discussion in the sense of, yeah, will we need developers or not? And yeah, it will be a bit controversial
Ooh.
because it's AI, and even right now you can get a web page developed, like a basic web page. You just ask it a question and it answers it. So I think it may also reach a point where, yeah, developers may lean more towards ChatGPT instead of Google. So yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of changes that it brings with it. I think that the potentials are unlimited right now.
Amazing. Yeah, I definitely think that as well. It's just exciting because nobody knows what's going to happen until like
Yeah.
maybe months or years down the line, and it's really exciting because we can research all these things, but we never know until it actually happens, and it's just exciting to hypothesize about it. So I totally agree. Great answer. Dom, do you want to touch on Chat GPT and how it's going to influence people like in their day-to-day lives, or even for people that are just getting into tech that maybe don't really have a lot of knowledge, and then they have this giant AI technology that's kind of doing what they're trying to do.
Yeah, for sure. ChatGPT is it's insanely powerful. It's so impressive and, to be honest, scary at the same time, because the answers ChatGPT gives are sometimes just incredible. I definitely think that software engineers will be needed because, mm, especially like ChatGPT is not able to produce like anything too big at the moment, but not only that. I mean, ChatGPT will evolve and definitely will be able to produce more complex code. But software engineering is a lot about talking with clients and solving business problems and other things, not just writing code. So yeah, software engineers will definitely have a job, and as AI evolves, our jobs will evolve too. We'll ditch some jobs, we'll invent new jobs, and we will need to learn how to use AI to become more powerful. Like with Google now, without Google or any search engine, you're definitely not as powerful as with it. Same with ChatGPT and other AI tools. Like, it will just be way more powerful with them. So you need to use them. And there already are some use cases of ChatGPT. So I've seen some people, they use it for copywriting. So they have integrations in a way that when they receive an email, they integrated ChatGPT to already create a draft response for them, and then they just see that response and reply immediately, or change some things and then reply. Or I've seen another example of one content creator. So he just writes an idea, and as soon as he is done writing with that idea, which is literally like a couple of words, ChatGPT in the background creates like 3 different scripts and like sends it to him, which is pretty cool. So yeah, like there already are some cool use cases, and I would suggest exactly that. Like, see use cases of ChatGPT, watch YouTube videos, listen our lives and follow our channel, and to get some good ideas, because the earlier you come into that and the earlier you get familiar with it, the better, because it is the future, inevitable future.
It totally is. And weren't you we were on a different live before, it just wasn't working well. Weren't you touching that they're going to be coming out with like a new version right away too?
Yep. So currently, the active version is ChatGPT 3, and 4 is already being developed, and it's trained with way, way, way more data. So the current ChatGPT looks like a infant compared to like new ChatGPT. So I'm really excited to see how will that work, because this is already something like truly exceptional. Because AI before that, of course, it was AI, it was impressive, but this is just like like insane that you can lead such a conversation, and at some points you probably won't even be able to see a difference between ChatGPT and the person, which is just crazy.
Fantastic. Yeah, totally agree. Amazing. It's exciting. It's an exciting time. Um, Amazing. So those of you that have just joined, you're welcome. We're talking about trends in tech. So if you have anything that you want to ask or add, I know we're getting a lot of comments just on what we're talking about. Please feel free to keep them going. I see that Dom is in the lead right now with coin. So congrats, Dom. I think Denise actually did that, which is fantastic. So feel free to support us. Ask as many questions as you want in the chat. We're just trying to answer them, trying to learn a little bit about what's up and coming in the current trends in tech. So I'll jump into our next question here. Can you tell us about the Internet of Things? Because I've heard of it, but I have no clue what's happening with it. Who wants to jump into this first? I'm seeing a couple people nod and seeing some sunglasses be put on people's faces. Who wants to jump into the Internet of Things to begin?
I think I could start with this one because that's like
Sure.
on right now. So the Internet of Things is basically like, just to kind of define what it is, it's giving like normal everyday objects. Thanks for that gift. Yeah. It's giving like normal everyday objects that aren't really thought of like as technology, basically access to the internet, access to technology. So a really good example is like refrigerators, for example. Refrigerators, like when you think of it, like when I say the word tech, the first thing you think of is not like a fridge typically or like a freezer or something like that. But nowadays, what's really cool is that there's a lot of companies that are coming out and allowing these everyday objects like refrigerators to have like access to the internet. So there's like products now where it's like you can go to like a smart fridge and it'll like tell you, you know, the supply of things inside the fridge. It'll tell you like what's almost out of stock. You can even like sometimes order from the fridge, which is really nice, like connected to Amazon, that sort of thing. So that's like one example. It's like a smart fridge. Another example might be like, for example, the company that I work for right now does like security systems. So like security cameras, alarm systems, that kind of thing. Back in the day, like the typical alarm system that you think about is like, you know, a fire drill maybe like in a mall or something like that. You know, like a fire goes off, you hear like the ringing, things like that. But when you give these systems and like everyday objects access to the internet, all of a sudden you can do really cool things like automatically call the police or the fire department when there's like an emergency, things like that. So that's like what the Internet of Things is in general. It's very broad because it's like giving access to the internet to anything that doesn't have access to the internet, basically like things that aren't computers, making them into computers. But it's really cool because that's when you have things like smart homes and smart fridges and smart TVs and all these like really cool things. I remember seeing, I think it was like a TikTok I saw recently, which was like a home that basically like adapts to the weather. So like instead of you controlling like the temperature, for example, like inside your house or apartment, it will like be connected to the internet. So it'll detect that it's like really cold outside. It's maybe like snowing or something. So it'll like automatically turn the heat a little bit up so that it could, you know, like make you kind of comfortable as you exit the cold and enter your home. Other things are like lighting. It will like the smart home will detect if it's like, you know, almost sunset time, then it'll like turn the lights, you know, a little bit on. And if it's like nighttime, your bedtime, it'll like automatically like dim the lights. So all of these things are like Internet of Things, which is just things and putting them on the internet. Yeah, that's I think my definition.
My mind is that's crazy. The way that you explained it, I know it's like just like the internet having or the refrigerator having access to the internet. I'm like, that's crazy to me. I'm like, how could that even be a thing? Like my refrigerator is still the refrigerator from like 1999. That's like a big white one. That's just like the classic old ones. I'm like, I can't imagine having access to the internet or being able to order lettuce from your fridge to Amazon. That's just insane to me. Very cool. Thank you for that explanation. Louise, do you have anything to add about the Internet of Things? Have you looked into it? Have you tried it? What do you think like the future of the Internet of Things is going to be like?
Yeah, I think it's crazy as well. I don't know a lot about it, but I've definitely heard like smart fridges and smart this, everything will be smart in the end, I think. I think it will be very Interesting, because it's connected, everything is connected to the internet. That means you can connect, like, I think, for example, sensors for CO2, and then you like basically fetch data and send it straight to a server where you collect this data or something like that. So yeah, I'm curious to see how it will be. I mean, even right now we already are talking about self-driving cars and things like that. I don't know if how much IoT will play a role in that realm, but yeah, it's crazy that you can order food from your fridge. From your fridge, I didn't know that was possible. That's crazy.
So crazy. The AI technology and technology in general has just gotten so helpful, honestly, in general. Dom, do you have anything to add about the Internet of Things, or how do you see it like changing people's future? Like obviously, like the refrigerator is a really good example, but do you have any other ones you want to share?
It's hard for me to say because the guy such a great explanation and said almost everything. Yeah, I know. I mean, everything. I think many things, yeah, will be connected to internet in the future. But kind of like a question that I have is which things are going to be useful and which not. Are some of them, I don't know, just gonna have gimmicky features that aren't useful to anyone? Because I first heard of Internet of Things, I think, a couple of years ago, maybe even I don't know, like 7, 8 years ago. And it was really like a trendy word back then, like AI today. And everyone was talking about IoT, that everything will be like super smart and everything. But at the end of the day, I don't think that adoption rate was so crazy just because many things aren't that useful. For example, like, I don't know, having a smart fridge sounds like a cool idea, but it is cool for some people, but it's still not at that stage that you need to say like, oh, I need that smart fridge. Like, I don't know, in the way that you need a smartphone or you need a laptop or even like ChatGPT or the things that ChatGPT could do. So like, I can't survive without a smart fridge, in my opinion. So I'm still waiting for like really useful use cases that yeah that I don't know, that would be impossible to live with. So yeah, we'll see. It's definitely gonna be like exciting, and we need to have those stepping stones to a place where you actually create a smart fridge that is super useful, and I don't know, who knows, like passes things to the oven and cooks everything for you while you're away. That would be a really cool thing.
That
uh
thing, what a time saver. Like if you just walked home and you're like, I want chicken for supper, and you click a thing on the fridge and it's like, here you go, here's your chicken supper.
Smart kitchen, like you just let the kitchen cook for you.
That would
yeah,
be
yeah.
unreal. Does anybody
Smart everything.
know that's being made? I would put $1 million into that. I'd be like, I want that in my house. Absolutely.
I wanted that. I was thinking about that probably like 10 years ago. How cool would that be to, I don't know, have a smart wardrobe connected to a washing machine and that everything is like automatically washed and hanged and everything is cooked in the kitchen automatically and just served to you? That would be, those would be like super cool IoT smart things that I would buy. But I don't know, just ordering food from fridge, it's not. If I'm buying a new fridge right now, maybe I'm gonna get it, but I'm not gonna replace my fridge just to like get a camera inside. It's not worth it in my opinion at this stage.
Definitely. That's $1 million idea. You better put a patent on that. Oh, that's amazing. So cool. Like so many cool things in tech. Tech is just so interesting. There's so many cool things coming out of it. And watch, somebody in the chat is going to steal that idea, and we're going to soon have kitchens that make food by itself. So if anybody can put that into action, I will be your first purchaser, because that, I hate cooking. So I'm looking through my questions again. If anybody has any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. We're talking all about current trends in tech today, and if you like what we're talking about, like, feel free to support our amazing creators, because they have so much knowledge on these topics. It's so fun just picking their brain for an hour and just seeing like what their perspective is on it, because they've been in the industry for so long. So is there a current trend or upcoming, even, I don't know, software or piece of equipment that you're excited to kind of learn about or adopt? Like, I know AI is definitely on the top of that, but is there any others? Like, I know Ziad was kind of talking about how his company is integrating different aspects of technology into it. Let's start with Louise on this one.
Yeah, I think it's related to what we previously discussed, the role of IoT in data acquisition. Because let's say, like Dom said, it's not relevant. Not all of this will be relevant. Some will be more useful than others, but not all of it will be relevant. But if everything, like you can connect everything to the internet, then basically you can acquire data for everything. And I think that is going to really like spark, like Ziad was talking earlier about how important data sciences is, or data analytics, the importance of data. And I think IoT will play a huge role in AI as well, because if you have more data, you can create more accurate models, so better AI, for example. And I think this all links to ChatGPT, which basically connects everything. So yeah, I'm curious to see how it will go. Like, and especially the rate of which it will develop as well.
Definitely, I completely agree with it. It's just a matter of waiting and seeing like how it progresses quick enough. Ziad, we'll jump to you on this one as well. Is there any type of software or trend that you're really excited to like learn more about or like adopt, or even any type of new equipment coming out in general that you're like, oh, let me get on that, like let me learn about that?
Yeah, it's a very good question. Yeah, I'm personally really interested in like the cloud in general, and I like heavily use like AWS at work and stuff like that. And AWS, the fun thing about it is that they always come out with like new services that are based on like current trends. So, for example, we were just talking about IoT. Like they'll launch like an AWS product to make it really easy to develop like new IoT products, for example. So like as a programmer, it's really nice to be able to go in and like actually play with those technologies. Another area is like robotics, for example, like robotics kind of ties into IoT, like the fun idea that you guys were just talking about, like automatically cooking or automatically washing, washing dishes or washing clothes, is super cool. But it is like IoT and robotics in a sense, because you have like, things moving ingredients around, stuff like that. And it's already heavily used, like when you think about making cars, for example, like that's already like using IoT, using robotics, like assembly line production and stuff like that is already using that technology. So the cool thing about all that is like as a programmer, you can actually like play around with all those like new technologies from like your computer in like a virtual kind of environment. Like you don't have to like it's no longer the case where you have to buy like these huge machines to like be able to develop like a smart fridge, for example. You can kind of all like do it from your computer. So I think people here should definitely like go around and play with like AWS, play with the cloud, and figure out how you can like experiment with these new trendy technologies from the comfort of your home, because that's like when you start really seeing the potential of it. And you also start coming up with like ideas for things that actually could exist, like the cooking stuff that we just talked about. Like if you play around with the coding enough, like your brain will start to like turn its gears, and you'll start thinking of cool ideas to work on as well.
Definitely, great answer. That was very thorough. I very much enjoyed that. Dom, do you have anything to add to this conversation of anything that you're wanting to jump on or try or experience or adopt right off the back?
Sure. So I would definitely love to use blockchain technologies more. I know that blockchain is definitely not or anything crypto related is not a hot word right now because the market is dead and crypto is like really tied to its market state and its prices, and it just doesn't have a lot of use cases in this real world now. Crypto is more like digital, used for digital worlds, which are quite underdeveloped at this stage. But yeah, I'm excited about that and see what will happen like in the future with metaverses. And just when I think of blockchain and problem it's solving, like before blockchain, it was everything on internet was completely worthless just because you can copy paste everything. And if you have a picture, you can copy paste it. If you have anything, you can just copy paste it, and then it makes it worthless. If you have in a real life, if you have, I don't know, a Ferrari, and you can copy paste that Ferrari infinite times, that Ferrari would be worthless. So that was the thing before on internet. And now with cryptography, it's not possible to copy paste Bitcoin anymore. It's not possible to copy paste digital assets. So yeah, I'm really excited about that, to see that digital world that we will be developing, that augmented reality, virtual reality, metaverses. How will that help us in the future? For example, maybe in a couple of years, we're gonna have this live with a VR headset, with a great room that will look like maybe even better than real life. Who knows? How will that solve all the issues of remote work, because we still look at those small screens? Like, you can't say that you have like 30-inch monitor, but it's still like small, and it's just like a, I don't know, blank, just a plain screen compared to like VR and some crazy experiences. So yeah, I'm excited about that technology right now that nobody's talking about, just because Bitcoin is like what, 16K.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. I can't wait until we're watching through our VR headsets in a very cool room, and we're all doing like code offs or like crazy handshakes, interacting with each other, like you can see our full bodies, and that would be unreal. Very cool. Amazing. Okay, well, let's jump into the next topic. We're gonna touch on blockchain, because I love that you brought that up. So does anybody want to explain, because just like I don't know a ton about blockchain in general, and there's probably people on the chat that don't know anything about blockchain. So does somebody want to explain like what blockchain is? I know Ziad might know a little bit about this topic.
Yeah, I can try to explain it like conceptually, and I think the others could probably correct me if I'm wrong. But based on my understanding, like blockchain technology in general is kind of like a verification system, but like a publicly available verification system. So basically, right now, like I always hear the example of like when you buy a house, for example, like you're buying a piece of real estate. The way that works, like in the United States and most countries, is that like there will be some piece of paper somewhere out there that will like say your address at Northeast 100th Street or something is like owned by Ziad or owned by Olivia or something like that. And that is like the way that you kind of like claim that piece of property, like legally and stuff like that. The way that blockchain works is that it's like this virtual way of mass verifying that you own something. So, for example, like if I buy a piece of virtual property, I guess, like on the blockchain, that property being owned by me is like verified by all the other properties that are out there. So it's like everybody else on the blockchain network, or like every other virtual like property on the blockchain network, will have to like verify that that I own that particular thing. So instead of basically like it takes the third party out. So like instead of us being handed these like pieces of paper by like the government, for example, that say like you own this, instead of that like third party being there, whether it's like the government or the bank or whatever, it's kind of like we all have like this trust system, but the trust system is so strong because there's so many of us. So like when you have something like cryptocurrency, for example, like so many people own Bitcoin, so it's like each Bitcoin has to verify to all the other Bitcoins that I am owned by this person. That's kind of like conceptually how I like to think about it, is that it just removes like the third entity or third party in a particular transaction. So this has like a lot of applications when it comes to like transactions in general, like whether you're buying a stock, for example, or you're buying something virtual, like NFTs usually like are connected to blockchain in some way, like buying like a virtual playing card or something like that. So it's like this virtual trust system. Do you guys have more to talk about in that field? I think that's very, very high level.
Yeah, could you explained so well. Could you explain maybe about the mining process? Do you know, like, yeah.
So mining is in particular to cryptocurrency itself, and I'm not sure if it's like directly connected to blockchain or if it's like a crypto concept, but essentially like when it comes to cryptocurrency and you want to discover like a new Bitcoin, basically, like add like one more. Like if there are 10,000 Bitcoins and you want to have like 10,001 Bitcoins like on the blockchain network. Mining is this term that basically means you have to like solve this like really tough algorithm basically in order to like discover that 10,001st Bitcoin. And you don't actually like go and solve that. This is usually like set of computers that are like, like solving that problem on their own. Think about it as if it's like you're guessing a number between 0 and like 10 trillion, for example. Like as a human that would take forever, but like if you have like a lot of computers working towards that, that's the process of like mining. And once they discover that, then the like another Bitcoin is added to the blockchain network. So the reason that even exists is because, like, first of all, you want to keep a limited supply of something, so it's like not worthless. The more bitcoins there are, the less each one is worth. But at the same time, it's also to like associate like a particular cost to something. So like to like discover a new Bitcoin, this is how much like electricity it's going to cost us. This is how much like computing power it's going to cost us. Basically like Bitcoin evangelists or like Bitcoin like enthusiasts are trying to like emulate the way that things work in like economics, like the way that like US dollar works and stuff like that, but like in a virtual term. So like blockchain is like how they do verification. Mining is how they do like printing money basically. So it's all trying to like move from economics that rely on like governments and banks and stuff like that to a more like virtual, they call it like decentralized because it means like there's no central system that's in charge of everything. That's what I know. I know there's a lot of people that are like much more nerdier about this than I am, but I think that's like on a pretty high level explanation of these things.
Definitely. That was a great explanation. I actually followed that full thing through and through. Does anybody else have anything to touch on that? Or did you want, I see that we have a question in the chat about DevOps. Did anybody want to touch on that maybe in relation to this conversation?
DevOps related to blockchain. I don't know. I would just love to add that one thing for mining that why actually miners do all that, because at the end when they create that new block in blockchain, they are rewarded. So the process is like blockchain is just a chain of blocks, and those blocks have you can look at it just as a massive decentralized database, and each block is just a list of transactions. So, for example, I send $10 to Olivia. Olivia sends 15 to Ziad. Ziad sends 20 to me, and we all know that data, like Ziad, Olivia, and myself. And now, for example, if Dweez comes and says that somebody sent $100 to him, it's wrong because we all know that it's wrong because it's decentralized, and that's why you cannot change anything because like too many people know. And yeah, that one block is just like a list of those transactions who send money to who or whatever the cryptocurrency is about. And yeah, at the end, like when that block is created, miners receive a reward. That's why people want to mine, because they earn Bitcoin when they solve those riddles. So I just wanted to add that. And about DevOps, I think that Ziad has some cool answers about DevOps.
Definitely jump in.
Yeah, sure. DevOps is like a completely separate topic from blockchain, by the way. But,
Hey, I wasn't sure.
yeah, it's really cool because DevOps is like more, I guess, like it's a subject that pretty much every developer is going to like come across. Essentially, like when you're building any kind of product, like you're building TikTok, for example, like there are people who are front end engineers that we talk about that a lot. Front end engineers like code how TikTok looks, like how the scrolling works, where all the buttons are, all those kind of things. There's back end engineers, which like usually are the people responsible for like how the TikTok algorithm works, like underneath the hood, and account management, like when you sign in, what actually happens. Like they're the ones that kind of code like the logic behind TikTok. And then DevOps people, which like there can be people who only work on DevOps, or you can have like within a company like all engineers are also DevOps engineers. And essentially what that means, like DevOps stands for developer operations, and that basically means like internally how do we go faster? Like for example, if I'm coding something like on my computer, like I'm a front end engineer, and I'm like, all right, I just made the TikTok like button turn red when you press on it. Now I want to like move that code from my computer, which I just worked on, and like release it to everybody in like an update or something like that, so everybody can have it. Like the steps involved to release that, like basically like when you have your app store, it says like update or something, and you can like press update, and then it'll have the most recent changes. Like the acts of doing that, like all the work that's involved in that is usually DevOps. So that like that includes like release management. It includes like creating like coding things for our team to use so that we can go faster. So a good example of this is like all engineers in a company or like in a even like inside projects and stuff will usually write like tests to make sure that their code actually works. So the act of like writing tests and like figuring out what's the best way to write tests, for example, and how do we kind of like go faster as a team is usually DevOps. It includes like internal tools as well, like how do we manage our code? Like our code is getting too big. How do we like manage it in terms of making sure it's in a good format and we're using all the right tools to make us like pretty efficient? That's usually DevOps. So like if you think about it in terms of like just your daily life, like optimizing your life by brushing your teeth and scrolling through your phone at the same time is like the equivalent of DevOps in that scenario. You're like trying to like figure out ways to go faster in your daily routine. A lot of people like use to-do lists, for example, in their daily lives. That would be like the real life version of DevOps. So yeah, like everybody should be a DevOps engineer, but there are people who like only focus on DevOps, especially at like really big companies like Google and Facebook and stuff. There's going to be like entire teams that are dedicated to just making other developers' lives easier. So yeah, that's a little overview.
Amazing. That was a great answer to that question. I hope whoever asked that is still in the chat and heard all that, because that was a great explanation. I know we only have 2 minutes left, but I see one more question Mystery Man has asked, and maybe one of our team members can answer this, and then we'll come into our next live next week at 12:30. I think it's Eastern time is what we're on, so feel free to join. But Mystery Man wants to know if they can learn programming that's not in English. Is that possible? Does somebody want to jump in and answer that? Does anybody know?
I don't think so. I guess, Dom, you're from Croatia, I think. Is there like Croatian programming language?
No, definitely no. I don't know, to be honest. Maybe it would be best just to Google it. But as far as I know, like there's like a lot of like everything in programming is in English. Like all the programming languages, all the methods, and everything is in English. So I'm not sure if like there is anything on other languages. But I don't think you need to be proficient in English to learn programming, because like you can still like use those methods even if you don't know what exactly does that mean or something like that. I don't think that English should stop you here. Obviously, it's gonna be a bit harder, but yeah, I'm interested now to see if there are programming languages in any other languages other than English.
I've
Yeah.
seen like Chinese programmers programming in Mandarin, I believe it was. Like you see the actual characters appear, but that's the only time I've seen a foreign language. I mean, a language that's not English.
Yeah. The really cool thing is that like even though like programming languages are in English, they're like very simple English words. Like if is like the word I if like is like one of the most important English words that you'll know like in programming. But like the cool thing about programming is that like you're the one coding, so like when you type out like variable names or you're just writing your code, like you can have it be in like words that are familiar to you, but it always has to be like English letters. Like that's the issue. So you have to at least know English letters, but like I guess like for displaying different things on like writing code and having variable names and comments and stuff like that, you can write that in your own language, but it all has to be like English letters is the critical part.
Amazing. Maybe we should do a whole discussion on this next time. So we are out of time for our topic about current trends in tech. Thank you all for joining. We do talk about a ton of these things on our channel, so feel free to give us a follow. And if you have any topics that you do want to talk about or that you do want to hear about in our lives, feel free to drop comments on any of our videos, and we'll make sure to add them next time. So we'll see you next Wednesday at the same time, and hopefully we'll have less technical issues. Thank you guys so much for our creators. Creators, do you have anything to say to everybody before we jump off for the day?
No, definitely
Thank you.
all your
Thanks
questions.
everyone for attention, gifts, and yeah, wish you all a great day, evening, afternoon, wherever you are. Who knows?
Fantastic. Amazing. Okay, we'll see you all next time with Practicum, and thanks so much. See you guys.
See ya.